Florida, they have the COVID-19 model. In Northeastern University have done such. In Colombia, they have done that. In Los Angeles, they have also done that. And they are able to do this because there is real-time data that they can easily download and they can easily model. And people can come up with different projections that policymakers can take all this, and that can inform on a daily basis of what has to be done. But like I said, these countries have been advanced. They have a lot of systems in place, and with time, it's my hope that we will be able to catch up to be able to get access to this information to help different categories of people who may be interested in modeling this data to inform public health action.
Okay. Now, also help me understand this. I don't know what your thinking is on this. Now, today we get clarity, right, about that the publication, the testing numbers that the government is giving us. Now we are at 65,000 plus, almost close to 90,000 already. That figure, of course, the Noguchi virologist, Professor Ampofo, explained that it does not include repeated tests. However, they have that data set separately, and that is not published. And Dr. Nsiah confirms that they have it, but it's not something that they publish. From where you sit as the expert in this area, biologist also, that should the government and the public health officials publish all that data for us to know the numbers they give us, what's the constituent parts of that data?
Yes, I think this will be very helpful for the public. And to draw your mind once again, the WHO has once again made a statement about timely access to data in the context of COVID-19. And they are in the process of implementing an open data sharing protocol to guide all countries as to how and when to make these data available. For instance, in the US, if you have looked at their data, they categorize their patients, their individuals into people who are imported, people who are community. And within the community, you can know those who are community and in touch with cases, and non-contact, or community who have no touch with cases and who have no touch with contact. And they are able to disaggregate this data at the level of the community for you to understand the movement of the virus to the unit level. So if this information is readily available, it will help the public. I mean, the public at this stage will want to buy into the data. They want to associate themselves with it. They want to understand what is going on. They want to follow through every single day what happened. So making these data publicly available, I think that is very important. And like Professor Ampofo said, in cases here, our director does share the data in a disaggregated format. We also share the first line data for all individuals. We also share the duplicate data in a separate Excel sheet. And all this is given to the Director of Public Health on a daily basis. And when the data get there, they are able to aggregate the data and then feed into the ministry of what should be done. But I think going forward, it would be good that as and when these data are released, portions of this should be put on the website. Of course, not patient's identity, which is against the ethics of data sharing, but things that will not allow people to tap into people's data and then get access to identify them. But what is generally available, I mean, a part of it that people can easily use to inform actions and to be able to make predictions, be able to describe and forecast deaths or hospitalizations and outcomes, make projections, make interventions, and understand how the interventions are playing out. I think this will be very helpful. So once these are public, and many of us in academia, many of the professors around can easily tap these into this and can be able to perform modeling using various interventions, and they can make this available to the ministry for them to use in making decisions.
And even from a public standpoint, I see why what you're proposing will be very helpful. In fact, all this controversy over whether we trust the testing numbers the president had put out or not would have been solved if all the data was available, because then you can go there and check what is accounting for the 65,000 plus that the president put out there. Does it include duplicate? You see it includes duplicate, or it doesn't include. And then that would have solved the problem. And they wouldn't have had to deal with this running controversy until now, really, if it was out there. Let me quickly ask you the final question about the third controversy with the modeling. Yesterday, Dr. Nsiah put out a modeling, results that alarmed a lot of people. 3 million people infected in Ghana, 150,000 people critically ill, 15,000 people dead. Today, he's explained that is a WHO model that he was repeating. for us is clarify that in spite of all the opportunities he had yesterday to do so, he's done that today. That's fine. However, the question is, it's clear that we do not, as of now, and today he made that point, we do not, as of now, have our own unique modeling based on our unique set of data that we've had so far. Why is that important? Why must we have that?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I know that we have very capable bodies, the Institute of Mathematical Sciences. They have a platform where all mathematicians in Ghana are able to meet, and then they are able to deliberate on some of these. They have very good modelers who can really assist us. We have biostatisticians who are very good in how best to use data to model. So what some of us are looking at is that we'll be able to have a homegrown solution where we will encourage our mathematicians to use this to be able to understand. And the importance of this modeling data is that, one, it enables you to describe the characteristics of the virus in terms of estimating the incubation period. We know it's 2 to 14 days, but this is a data we have borrowed from China and Europe. As we speak now, I'm not too sure what the incubation period of the virus is as pertaining to Ghana. I'm not too sure. But this you can get if you are able to have access to this raw data. The transmissibility of the virus in terms of the reproductive number, we understand it's about 2 to 3 from the data from China and Europe. But in Ghana, I'm not too sure what exactly the value is. Some of the professors have been able to model something, but then this was based on raw data that were extrapolated not in Ghana, but then on other platforms. So if we have these data available, people will be able to tell you exactly the transmissibility or the reproductive number of the virus. The data also helps us to be able to forecast. If you can forecast deaths, you can forecast hospitalizations, you can tell that in 3 weeks' time, you are able to record this number of deaths and can record this hospitalization. One good thing that the data can tell us is that you can be able to model the trajectory of the virus. We understand that it follows an exponential curve in the Europe and in China, but in Africa, I'm not too sure whether what we have is going to follow an exponential curve. It's possible it may follow some other curve, either a linear or logarithmic curve. I'm not too sure, but then if this data is readily available, then you will expect that our colleagues, especially in biostatistics and mathematics, can give us the exact curve our data is following, so that if you put in interventions, you can make accurate predictions and can tell what will happen in a month's time, in 2 months' time, in 6 months' time. And then you can even determine when to lift your lockdowns, when to lock down. Because if you know that 3 weeks' time you are likely to have an increase in hospitalization, then you are better off locking down in 3 weeks' time. You can pre-inform the public for them to prepare and then go along with you. So I think that it's something we are gradually trying to learn. And as we are faced with this difficult virus, this difficult fight of coronavirus, we should be able to bring on all experts and make this information available for them to support. I think that is also a way of building capacity within our own system. Once we are able to get very competent people to come on board, we can encourage them to bring out such information to inform public health action. I think with time, we will get there.
Yeah.
Step by step.
Yeah, and very finally, because you were cases here, I don't know if you could help us understand this pooling word that was used today and explained. But of course, I mean, for mere mortals like myself, and I doubt many people also understand this, how the tests could be multiplied, a multiplier effect in the testing that allows us to have done 30,000 tests in 48 hours, as Professor Ampofo indicated, when we know the capacity of Noguchi is 3,000 max. KCCR, I think yesterday I heard from the director there say your capacity maximum is 800. And yet, Professor Ampofo says in 2 days together, that's even that you consider everybody together, you've done 30,000 tests because of pooling. Can you break it down if you can? I'll be very grateful if you can. Break it down what that is and how that gives us that ability.
Yes, so Professor Ampofo is right. Actually, we do share protocols with Gucci in everything that we do. But then, if you talk about pooling, what happens is that when you have an assay of PCR, you should be able to determine the minimum copy number that your assay can pick. And for the assay we are using is highly, highly sensitive. It can pick as low as about 1 microliter per reaction. So when you understand the limit of detection, then you also know how many samples can you put together to enable you to detect the virus. So this you have to first of all test experimentally in your lab. So this is what Noguchi did. They tried to put 10 samples into one tube, and then they put in positive samples with a certain limit of detection. And then they were able to identify the viruses when they pulled them together. And then based on this, they were able to revise their protocol and to say that for every 10 samples that come, it will be run as a single one. And you are not going to lose anything. You are going to detect every virus in it because the assay is highly sensitive. So once you are able to move from experimenting this in the lab, then you amend your protocol and then you implement and establish it. And this has been known. I mean, we have done works on coronaviruses for the past 10 years. We have been doing pooling of samples in 5s, in 10s, and based on the assay level of detection and based on the kind of samples you have. So this is what, I mean, we do as virologists. Each and every day, we try to experiment new procedures and test whether these procedures are workable or not.
Okay, so when the Noguchi director says our capacity is 3,000, how do you reconcile that with the ability to test more than 15,000 a day, for example?
I want to believe that when he said 3,000, perhaps he was talking about individual samples that Noguchi could test, which was about 3,000. In KCCR, we started with about 200 to about 500 samples individually. But then when samples increase, you now will have to experiment to see that based on your assay limit of detection, is it possible for me to enhance testing by putting samples together? When you are able to pass this assay in your lab and it works effectively, then you amend the protocol and implement it. So I want to believe that it was 3,000 for individual cases, but then when Noguchi tested this, experimented this, and established this as something that is workable, they were able to upgrade to the level of having this increasing number of samples over the next 3 or 4 days. So this is what we do.
Okay.
I mean, we do this very often, and we have tried this over the years, and it's something that is common within the field of virology. But perhaps in the public space, people may not understand, but that is the reality, and that is what we keep doing.
And that's why I'm always grateful. It's always an education to listen to Dr. Michael Owusu there. He's a virologist with the KNUSC and also works with the KCCR as well as a researcher. And really appreciate all the fine gentlemen who work at Noguchi and across the country, frontline health workers breaking their backs to get us to win this war. The questions must be asked because it's only when we understand that you can pull us along in this war to win the war against the invisible enemy, the coronavirus. So listen to Now Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7. Still ahead, 10,000 police officers who took part in enforcing 3-week lockdown asked to stay home as Inspector General Police directs their samples be tested for COVID-19.
Medical officers at the police hospital have been instructed to take samples of the frontline officers for testing.
And more as Ghana's recovery rate continues to make steady progress as the health service reports 120 infected persons are free from the virus. Also tonight, Deputy Local Government Minister advocates legislative instrument to enforce safety protocols needed to curb a spread of the COVID-19.
As we speak, it's more protocols. If things get tighter, we may also have to tighten the rules. If a bigger force like EI comes in, then they know that this is what the law says, this is how we should implement it.
Well, we'll hear from the ranking member on the Constitutional Legal Affairs Committee in Parliament who is disagreeing with this when we return.
Joy 99.7.
In the studio, we have a man who used to be a DJ, Elton Brobe, behind the console playing the sounds for me, and so sometimes he's tempted to mix the news with the DJing skills. Elton, thank you very much, by the way. That's what goes on behind the scenes here when we are doing News Night. I want you to join me with your views and comments. Send me 0244340437 is a WhatsApp line there. Now, The Inspector General of Police is directing samples of 10,000 officers who took part in enforcing the restriction on movement be tested for COVID-19. This directive comes in the wake of the lifting of the 3-week partial lockdown in Greater Accra, Kumasi, and Kaswa. I want to bring in Sheila Bachman-Abaye, who is the Director General of Public Affairs at the Police Service. She joins us on the telephone line right now. Sheila, thank you for joining us here on News Night. This 10,000 is a huge number. Do we know what happened? What happened? How were they exposed, possibly?
Evans, the plan is to get almost every officer tested, if that is possible, because we are frontline officers. In the past weeks, prior to even the lockdown, we had been operating as frontline officers because we needed to enforce the ban on public gathering and also the social distancing rules. And we are still doing it. We are still carrying on with that part of enforcement, which is still in force. And so the idea, the rationale is for us to be tested so that if anybody came into contact with any person knowingly or unknowingly, the person will be taken care of. So just as the President said, the vision is to test as many people as possible, and the police administration has taken the initiative for police officers who perform the specific duty to be tested.
Okay, has the testing started actually?
I do know that samples have been taken. I think we all know that the Ghana Health Service has spoken about delays and backlog with testing of samples. So that will be handled by the health people. But at least the processes have started.
The challenge, I guess, down the line is once the results come in, God forbid, I mean, those who test positive will have to go into, as we know, quarantine. That takes them out of service. That will leave gaps, I guess, in your numbers. Is the administration planning to deal with that when it comes up in terms of making up for the shortfall in numbers?
Sure.
What plans do you have in place for that, though? I mean, because your service, when they say essential service, yours is really essential. We need our security dearly, and once you're in short, I don't know how you're trying to plug that gap.
Prior to the enforcement of the lockdown, Inspector General of Police recalled police officers who were on leave to return to work so that we can all join forces. At any point in time, you would have one officer undertaking another assignment that takes him or her off the road or out of the office. So right now, we have almost the full complement of all police officers in Ghana. So isolating some officers because of health would be the best interest, and I believe the administration will take it. We are police officers. We are trained to almost and always adjust in one situation or the other. So God forbid, as you said, should any officer test positive, it shouldn't be difficult at all for the officer's health interest to be taken care of for other duties of the police to run.
I'm grateful, Sheila Bachman-Abaye. She's the Director General of Public Affairs with the Police Service. I have a piece of good news for you. Sometimes in this gloomy period of COVID-19, you struggle to find the news that could cheer you up, but sometimes look into the numbers. You find now that 120 infected persons in Ghana, we're hearing tonight, are recovered. That is good news. Recovery rate continues to make steady progress, and the number is moving in the right direction. The last case count of recoveries last week was 99. This was revealed by head of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Abaji, earlier today at the briefing. He also gave a breakdown of Ghana's case count, which now stands at 1,154.
Under the general surveillance, as at the 20th of April, we have 401 cases that are reported positive. We still have the 115 travelers who are
Super Hits Radio, Joy 99.7.
through the enhanced contact tracing. In the last 3 weeks, we have 1,053 positive, bringing the number to 1,154. has 1, and Tamale has 6 cases reported. Of those who are well and responding to treatment during those who are asymptomatic, that comes to 1,021, accounting for about 88.5% of our cases are well, no symptoms, and both have mild symptoms and responding to treatment. We have 4 people currently in critical or moderately severe condition. Only 1 is on ventilator.
But there have been several reports of health workers crying out for PPEs.
Super Hits Radio, Joy 99.7.
Hospital Chief of Praso and some others in the Volta region. Central Regional Correspondent Rita Kodunyako has more.
The Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association says frontline health workers in Ghana, like their colleagues around the globe, are integral to the world's response to COVID-19. In hospitals, clinics, and homes across the country, these health workers take on significant personal risk and too often working without adequate equipment to ensure that people could receive the care they need. The Mother Association of the Health Workers is thus urging its members to put their best feet forward in the fight against the pandemic by bringing to bear all the expertise they have to save lives, but ensure that they themselves are protected. National Treasurer of the Association, Irene Alite Jacobs,
Super Hits Radio, Joy 99.7.
Sorry for your Mother Association.
Regional Chairperson of the Association, Mercy Chawe,
Super Hits Radio, Joy 99.7.
ensure their national leadership. Their members would be given the items to help them in the fight. We want to use it very well to help with the prevention of this serious pandemic that has befallen us.
So, what is the Ghana Health Service response to the challenge? Of course, many individuals and organizations are taking on the challenge of supplying PPEs. Well, Ms. Abwaje with the Ghana Health Service explains today at the briefing what they intend to do about the challenges.
Insufficient PPEs. As was mentioned, a significant amount has been pushed in. So you mentioned specific hospitals that do not have. We will follow up and see why is it that they do not have. Because we have actually increased the number of PPEs that have been distributed through the regions.
That's to say that the Ghana Health Service has come out of business. Deputy Government Minister
Super Hits Radio, Joy 99.7.
the spread of COVID-19. To reopen the country, and as the Muslim faith begins the annual holy month of Ramadan, fasting and prayers tomorrow, the National Chief Imam has just one request.
Is for us to have a broadcast of our call to prayer during the time of the breaking of the fast. When Muslims in the country hear this, as we break the fast, they hear the sound of the caller to prayer. Probably it can give them some satisfaction.
Details after I hear from Charles with business. Charles, what do you have in the
All
headline?
right, so in business, World Bank predicts a 20% decline of global remittances for 2020, and also Ghana's economic growth for 2019 estimated at 6.5%. Business on News 90 is brought to you by MTN. Welcome to a new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, a one-stop shop for all office essential. And First National Bank, we are the bank that understands your business. First National Bank.
or 0232-000-015. In Kumasi, we are located opposite Prempeh College, Sofo Line, and in Takrady, Apex Health, your preferred health insurer.
We give you nothing but the best, we stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Boost and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop. With customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Boost and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takrady.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
Joy 99.7 FM, radio for the discerning listener.
And welcome back to Business on News Night. Now, global remittances are projected to decline sharply by about 20% this year due to the economic crisis caused by the coronavirus pandemic. The virus, which has forced the closure of borders and total lockdowns around the world, will see remittances in low and middle income countries fall to $445 billion. According to the World Bank, the projected fall is largely due to a dip in the wages and employment of migrant workers. Now, this will cause a loss of a crucial financing lifeline for many vulnerable households in Ghana and the rest of Africa. Now, provisional figures from the Ghana Statistical Service show that the economy grew by 6.5% in 2019. The latest rate shows a marginal increase from the 6.3% recorded in 2018. The following report details the sectors that also contracted in the year under review. The services sector recorded the highest growth rate of 7.6%, followed by industry 6.4% and agriculture 4.6%. The services sector remained the largest sector. Two of the subsectors under services contributed more than 5% to the 2019 annual growth rates. These are the information and communication subsectors, with a growth rate of 46.5%, and trade, repair of vehicles, household goods subsector also contributed 0.4 percentage points to annual GDP growth. The industry sector contributed 2.4 percentage points to 2019 annual GDP growth rate. The main driver of 2019 GDP growth and the industry was the mining and quarrying sector with a growth rate of 12.6%. The agri sector grew by 4.6% in 2019 compared to a growth rate of 4.8% in 2018. The non-oil annual GDP growth rate decreased from 6.5% in 2018 to 5.8% in 2019. Now, as the novel coronavirus plunges major profit margins in Ghana's trading community, the financial sector is not just intervening with loan deferment and soft loans, but also increasing contributions to the COVID-19 Trust Fund. Let's hear from Farid Anta, the Managing Director of Republic Bank, whose institution was first to defer loan repayment. He spoke to Joy Business on interventions from the banking sector so far.
Republic Bank, if not the first, was one of the first to come out publicly with our programs to assist not only the commercial but also the retail customers across the client base. We have offered up to 6 months moratorium on loan payments across the board, whether it's industry, small business, or the individual, because we recognize that even some of the customers may still be employed getting their salaries. Their family circumstances may dictate that there's a different demand for the money at that point in time. So we have just offered it across the board. With the industry and the other initiatives brought in by the Bank of Ghana, the Ministry of Finance, etc., interest rates has been reduced by up to 200 basis points. We have waived a number of fees, payment and transfers on the wallets, the Momo accounts, etc.
And that's Farid Anta, the Managing Director of Republic Bank. Just before we leave, a joint statement from two domestic carriers, Africa World Airlines and Passion Air, says domestic commercial flights will commence operations next week instead of the beginning of this week. This comes as the airport authorities work closely around the clock to provide logistics to meet the new and enhanced health protocols and screening measures put in place to check the spread of COVID-19. A statement from the domestic carrier said, quote, as a result of continued logistical challenges to implement enhanced health screening protocols at domestic airports, the domestic airlines have mutually decided to together with the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority and the Ghana Airports Company Limited, defer the proposed restart of flight operations until Monday, 27th April 2020. That's it by way of business on May 9th.
Charles, you don't remove your face mask when you get into the studio.
Exactly.
You just reminded me that I have to put my on.
Exactly.
When I came in here, I was alone, so I felt okay. Then I forgot. I lost track that I've been joined by, 4 other people in the space of this small room.
We can't take chances.
Absolutely. Charles, thank you very much. Now, the Deputy Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, OBMY, is advocating a legislative instrument to enforce safety protocols needed to curb the spread of the COVID-19. Now, his call comes as Joy News checks reveal many markets are not adhering to social distancing protocols and the wearing of masks. The largest food crops market in the SAP region, the Techiman Central, was closed this morning due to disregard for social distancing protocols. At the Kwanta South market in the Oti region, the Public Health Emergency Committee had to forcefully segregate the market to prevent communal infection. Now, President of the Greater Accra Market Association, Mercy Nijan, is pleading with security officers to return to the markets to enforce social distancing.
At least they should think of their health and the health of their family members and other customers. We also plead with the customers, please don't gather at one place. Your health is at risk. So they should also try as much as possible to participate. Everybody is just busy doing business. But the problem is, because as I'm saying, you can't start somebody, say, number 1, sit down, number 2, go home. So I think with the security forces, we need the security people, the assembly. They have their task forces. The market too, we have task forces. If they join hands with us, we'll be able to send them.
So that's the market queen there talking about the challenges with the social distancing in our markets. Obiamwa, who is the Deputy Local Government Minister, believes an ally is the most effective way to deal with this.
Since the lifting of the lockdown, the situation has exacerbated in the sense that you're not talking only about those who operate in the market, you're talking about those who also move into the market. Because with the stay-at-home lockdown situation, fewer people were going to the market. Now with the lifting, you have more people going there. So we still have to carry on with what we are doing, except that we should probably think of even alternative arrangements and then probably recommend at the appropriate time maybe stringent laws. As we speak, it's more protocols. But as things get tighter, we may also have to tighten the rules. Even though at the assembly level, you say that bylaws can be imposed on some of these things. But probably if a bigger force like EI comes in, then they know that this is what the law says, this is how we should implement it. But as of now, it's more of engagement as to the best arrangement to let things work as far as markets are concerned.
And that is Obi Amwade. He is the Deputy Local Government Minister. Now let's turn our attention to something that is gradually becoming a norm. And I'm talking about the wearing of face masks. I'm talking about it. I'm wearing my face mask. I don't know if you could hear it in my voice. The Ashanti Regional Security Council announced it was today going to embark on an operation to ensure residents of the Greater Kumasi and its environs wear face masks as a measure to contain the virus. But if you drive through town, you would notice many people wearing masks made from pieces of cloth. Well, today the Food and Drugs Authority is warning of a potential danger of wearing an inferior and unapproved face mask, especially made of cloth. Officials say some products fall short of the 3-layer specifications and expose users to risk. My colleague Ohim Interior has the details in the following report.
Virologist at the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research, Dr. Michael Owusu, called for mandatory wearing of nose masks after the partial lockdown was lifted.
I expect nose masks to be mandatory, that everywhere anybody goes, before you go to a trotro, a public transport, every gathering you go, the first thing is that you must be in a nose mask, and the police must ensure that whoever goes out has a nose mask.
Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Evans Mensah responded by announcing residents of Kumasi won't be compelled to wear nose masks.
Everybody should be able to acquire the face mask today and tomorrow. If we see you maybe without face masks and you are in public, we can return you to go back home until you get the face mask on.
The streets of Kumasi have since been flooded with all sorts of nose masks, both foreign and locally made.
Yakofano 1 cedi, near the AJ 2 cedis. Tiama yetiminya bikura 80 pesos. Na ya the AJ 2 cedis.
The FDA, however, cautions hundreds of products being sold to the unsuspecting public are unapproved.
We sampled quite a number of nose masks, and as you can see here, most of the nose masks are just 1 layer of fabric. Some of this, for instance, looks like polyester, which would not be able to filter anything. Some of them have cotton, which is good, but they are only 1 layer. This one I have here is 2 layers, and so they don't meet the guideline for making masks that the FDA has brought out.
Nora Nakite Labi is the Ashanti Regional Head.
You can use your cotton fabric for the outer layer. Make sure that the middle layer is either the stiff or calico. And then the inner layer, which comes in front of your nose and your mouth, should be calico. It should be something that hasn't got chemicals inside.
Mrs. Telabi warns the public is at risk if masks cannot serve their purpose.
Well, so just be warned there. We're trying to get the FDA to just break it down for us. What they need to look out for specifically, and both as those buying the mask and those manufacturing them, get a bit into detail just to public educate. But there's this situation in Kumasi. We know the KMA is enforcing this strictly. But what about Accra and other regions? President Akufo-Addo on Tuesday announced Ghanaians should expect the guidelines on the required nose masks that will be effective to fight the virus. Listen.
The Ministry of Health, I'm hoping any day, imminently, today, tomorrow, before the week is out, will come out with guidelines on what should be the minimum requirements and the minimum standards for producing an acceptable. I know there are lots of people, as we're speaking, are making face masks in their own homes, etc. But I think that for public health reasons, it's important that we should have some minimum standards.
Well, today at the press briefing, we didn't get an update on that question of the guidelines from the Ghana Health Service. Well, the president has said by the end of the weekend, so there's still time for this to happen. But just take your own precautions. Get an N95 mask, and if not, as the FDA had said, the triple layer is absolutely important. Now, President Akufo-Addo has admitted the decision to disrupt the lives of Ghanaians was the most difficult one he's taken so far when he was confronted with the realities of the threat posed to the nation by the coronavirus pandemic. From the closure of borders to banning social gatherings, including schools and churches, and then to the lockdown and a daily routine of Ghanaians, having to deal with that. Tonight, the president has been sharing his difficult moments, addressing the leadership of the Muslim faith at the Jubilee House. The president said protection for the Ghanaian was the overriding consideration when he made these decisions.
Infected. So against this background, more knowledge where the virus was, we are able now to identify the parts of Accra, Kumasi, of the country where the virus is operating, the communities in which the virus are operating. We're now in a much stronger position to go after the virus, to go after the contacts, find a way of isolating them from the community, and thereby try to contain the spread of the virus. So that is the exercise on which government has been engaged. It's been not easy. You can imagine the decisions that we had to take to disrupt the lives of our people were very, very difficult decisions for us to take. But when you're put in a position of leadership and you have a situation, you're confronted with a situation, you have a choice. Either to fall back and look up and say, oh God, what can I do? Or you stand up like a man and try and act to protect the people who have been put in your care. And I chose the latter, that I would do what I thought was right to protect the people of Ghana. Very difficult. So that, for instance, today, we're on the eve of Ramadan, and mosques are not operating. It's the first time that I can remember in my lifetime when Ramadan is going to be celebrated without mosques being open. These are very, very, very unusual times, and it has required these very difficult decisions.
Play this one. Well, Ghana case count now, as we know, stands at 1,154 with 9 deaths. Of course, the Muslim community met with the president today. I want to bring in right now the spokesperson for the National Chief Imam, Sheikh Aremayal Shaibu. Thank you, Sheikh, for your time here on Newsnight.
Thank you so much, Evans, for the opportunity.
I'm pretty certain that in all your time as a Sheikh and even as a Muslim, you haven't experienced a time before where you're going into Ramadan with so much uncertainty.
I mean, truly, certainly, this is the first time in my life to see a time when Ramadan comes and all those activities of devotion associated with the holy month, we are unable to observe them, i.e., we have the night prayer that we call Taraweeh. We have the night vigil. We keep what we call Tahajjud during the last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan. We have the Quranic exegesis that are undertaken by renowned Muslim scholars, and a time for us to draw close to the Quran and to understand it. We were not able to do all these. Normal daily prayers to bring us to assemble in the mosque because in the month of Ramadan, that is when we elevate the level, of our spirituality and devotion to God. But under the current circumstance, we are unable to do all these. And indeed, it's something historic, and we will just be counting it into the distant future. A time came in our life when something like this happened. And like the president said, it is not a pleasant decision to take. Meanwhile, it's also not ill-intentioned, but circumstance has warranted such very difficult decisions to take. So it's really certainly an extraordinary time for us.
And tell me, you put a request before the president. I mean, you exploring ways of which you could still do the Ramadan ended in a way that you could benefit most or many people of the Muslim faith. How was that received, and what are you planning to roll out?
Yeah, I think two basic requests were made, and we also considered those as part of our strategy to comfort and to calm down the feeling of the larger Muslim community, to fill and also to fill in a gap, because now there's a gap in their lives. Things that they normally would do in Ramadan, they're going to miss with all the excitement and the joy that comes with it, the euphoria. That's something that marks Ramadan month completely distinct from all other months. They will not be able to see that. So therefore, we requested just for consideration, if that was possible, for the call to prayer during the break of our fast to be made on the national television or other television stations, just to announce to all Muslims there is a certain kind of recognition for their feelings that it's time for them to break their fast. Secondly, one of the major activities which Muslims will miss, if you are close to the Muslim community, you will notice this. You find pockets of scholars, pockets of gatherings where Quranic interpretations are undertaken by renowned scholars. Since we are going to miss this one, we also put in a request, a certain kind of live broadcast, national broadcast of the Chief Imam's exegesis, because he himself is a Muslim jurist and also an exegete, so that he undertakes that. And also, even though we will not go out to assemble and listen to Quranic interpretations, in the comfort of our homes, we will hear him giving such interpretations, though it will be done in Hausa, but we are around the Chief Imam to assist with the English translation or a summary of it at any point that he finishes. And I'm of the belief that this will be enough to comfort many Muslims if these things are done. And then also, it's going to offer us an opportunity to further go ahead with the education. One, to continue to adhere to the protocols, and also to drum home the issue of sanitation, which has become so important because of the in our lives. So it's something that we have now. So all of a sudden we have become awoken to the fact that, I mean, keeping your surroundings neat is one of the means by which you can keep away diseases.
Absolutely.
And so we want to drum home that more.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm grateful, Sheikh, and of course, Muslims across the country are listening. And I guess at the end of the Ramadan, of course, hopefully those measures will have been activated to allow friends in the Muslim faith to have the full benefit, if not virtually, of what is at stake from the faith. Now, we'll stay with the presidency because the National House of Chiefs has commended the president for the strategies he's adopted so far to control the spread of the coronavirus. Now, President of the body, Togbe Afede, said a directive has been given to all chiefs to stop all festivals across the country. The chiefs have been interacting with the president.
In the afternoon of yesterday, I was in a video conference with some foreign colleagues and partners, and I was asked a question: how is Ghana doing in this fight against COVID-19? I was very proud to be able to say that we have a low infection rate of 1.5%. They asked what that meant, and I responded that it defined the ratio of positive test results and total individual tests. I hope I got it right. Mr. President, I want on behalf of my colleagues to congratulate you for all the bold decisions that have produced this low infection rate.
And that's talk we further there when he met the president at the Jubilee House. And just before we leave, for those football-loving fans, especially if you are a Kotoko fan like my colleague Elton Brobe, you will love to hear this. The FIFA has threatened to sanction Kotoko because of some dealings with the in the transfer market. And there's a statement from the Mensah Palace on this.
So, Evans, in brief, the Mensah Palace says that they've been following the media reports on the Asante Kotoko $180,000 owed to Tunisian club Esperance as a result of FIFA's ruling in 2016 and the subsequent transfer of Asante Kotoko SC player to the same club in 2018. Considering the controversy that has been generated over the alleged failure of the club to meet the regulatory requirements of the Premier League licensing system for 2020 and 2019. Now, the Mensah Palace says that they are concerned, and as a step, the Palace has asked the executive chairman of the club, Dr. Kwame Che, to submit a report of his administration for the next 3 years of his mandate. The report is being evaluated for the consideration of His Majesty Otumfuo II. Also, a committee has been set up to investigate the circumstances under which the club transferred the said player and how come it came to owe Esperance $180,000, and the committee has 4 weeks to present its report. But assurance here is that the Mensah Palace do all it can to ensure that Kumasi Kotoko escapes FIFA's punishment.
Which may be what? The banning from the club competition?
Demotion from the Premier League to Division 1.
Okay, and that's for you if you are a Kotoko fan as well. That's it for News Night tonight. Just before we go, a few of your messages coming through. A link says it's obvious that honesty, trust, and truth has disappeared from the lives of the African leaders. Lolobi in Kumasi, Emmanuel says, please, we want the government to check and allow the people of Ghana to see those who are in a hospital suffering from the COVID-19 as how other nations are showing their patience. This one from Dennis in Cater says, I'm so impressed tonight about the recovery rate of our country, but I'm pleading Ghanaians to maintain the social distancing protocols. This is from Divine. He says, please highlight to the public and Ghanaians to avoid meeting with friends, family, and members. And the final one says, Ghana Health Service delaying in bringing out figures regarding the coronavirus pandemic is giving room for speculation, and this does not engender confidence. Kofi Selu sent us that one. Enjoy the rest of your evening and be safe.